Just doing like a little pre-show banter before it starts. A lot of the time the podcast starts with a little pre-show banter.
Did you even hit record?
Yeah, it's recording. This is what this is. This is a little pre-show banter.
And then you're going to hit the music.
And then I'll hit the music. So
but you're going to end up editing it anyway.
Well, no, probably. I'm not. No, this is not how it happens. Okay. This isn't how, here we go. What's up, you little fringe neckles? We're here and we're ready to go. Episode 4, right out of the gate. We are hitting it out and hitting it. We are making a connection. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning in. This is another episode of Heavy Bangs, and gosh, we're doing it. We're doing it, and we're still gonna continue doing it. I'm here with my soon wife, Mischa McCortney. Go ahead and say hello.
I wish you'd stop saying fringe
neckles. Well, look, you guys, we need.
nickels?
Well, I need to give these guys some. I need these guys to have some sort of identity or something. You know, I mean, they are their own selves, but also we're here together. We're kind of like our own kind of brow curtains or whatever you want to be called. But hey, you guys, if you want to leave us a comment and let us know what you actually would be preferred to be called, would it be fringers, fringe heads, fringies, maybe some bang curtains, maybe brow bush, maybe a brow bush. I don't know. Whatever you think, even if you have your own ideas, please don't hesitate to send them into the comments or just even email us in here at Heavy Bangs Podcast.
We have an email?
Yeah, we have an email. We've had an email the whole time.
And it's Heavy Bangs Podcast at what?
It's heavybangspodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, okay.
So you guys feel free to, let us know how you feel, what you have going on that day or today or any of that stuff. So feel free to just kind of let us know. But please do not, we do ask, do not put us on any mailing list because we're trying to keep that inbox clean. But yeah, so we do have an email.
Oh, good to know, I guess.
Yeah. We're here. And gosh, you guys, I want to say thanks for everyone who's listening. Turns out there's people listening.
Yeah, there's a small handful of close friends.
There's like 61 people listening on a different platform or something. And I'm not even just making that number up. But here's what I do want to say. Thank you, guys. Thank you to listeners. Because without you, I'm just going to be doing this kind of for my own self.
I do want to say thank you also. Especially because I feel like some of it's probably painful to listen to.
This is a very nonviolent podcast.
Not a violent thing. Painful in the way of like, I don't know. I don't know what kind of podcast people like to listen to, but I don't know if this is it. This is
Heavy Bangs, and we do things our own way here at Heavy Bangs. And with that, we will, we got to talk about it. And I'm going to start out of the gate. Like I said, she's my soon wife. That means, turns out actually, that we're going to be seeing each other in matrimony and in marriage.
1 week from tomorrow.
Yes, turns out it's going to be 1 week from tomorrow, which will be a different week for you guys listening. But know that things are moving into a very serious realm over here at Heavy Bangs. And really, there's no telling what could come out our way.
Well, we leave in the morning to make a 3-day drive up to Spokane, Washington.
We're going up to Spokane, Washington, and what a beautiful place. There's so many wonderful things up there. For any of the Spokane listeners, you guys are really near and dear to my heart, and you know that the air is clean and the trees are green. So respect to you.
And maybe they also know that it's going to be 103 degrees.
Does turn out it's going to be a hot wedding. We decided to have the wedding outside because it's in the middle of the summer and it's going to be nice in Spokane. So nice, in fact, that the weather is going to be exceptionally warm, which is nice because I'd rather it be too hot than too cold.
Like snow? You mean you'd rather an excessive heat warning than
any of it?
Storm warning?
I'd say any of it. I'd say I will take the heat before over the snow. Over the snow, yes. And I fumbled my words there. I was feeling a little like I wasn't sure what to say. But the answer is I would prefer fire over being frozen to death.
Oh, see, I don't feel that way at all.
Okay.
Because you freeze, and I believe I believe what happens is like your body starts to like pull blood from its extremities, right, to protect the most important.
And what do you
organs.
mean by extremities? You mean like
your fingers and your arms and your legs. So your body.
So limbs, really.
Yeah.
But you use a different word. That's fine. I just want everyone to know that, for our listeners who didn't know what extremities were, that they actually they're really just kind of your limbs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your body now is pulling all like energy and blood from those because those aren't as important.
And when you're saying pulling, you don't actually mean the body's pulling.
I don't know.
But pulling would mean that it's like, there's probably a couple oxen involved. There's a farm, maybe some crops or something that they're going to be pulling something through.
No.
Maybe there's a heavy weight at the end of it.
Let's say your body just decides instead it's going to use all of that energy and blood supply for the most important life, like the organs that we need to keep ourselves alive.
Right.
So let's just say
that's why
I don't want to say pull. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I won't say that. And I'm not claiming to be a doctor.
No,
here.
no, I'm not. And you're not looked at one. You're not looked as one.
Okay. Well,
with
anyway,
the utmost respect.
That's where you can get get the frostbite in the toes and the fingers.
I've noticed that because a lot of times when I get cold, I start to notice that the blood is leaving basically my fingers and my arms and my legs.
Yeah. Well, your body is trying to save all of these organs in this region. Your heart. And your kind of penis area everywhere in the core. I don't know that the penis is your body's priority.
Well, I'm saying that if I was going to be freezing to death, I know that for my body, that my body would hold on to my penis. If I was going to be, it would definitely be keeping it. No, I'm not. Okay, well, it's not up for debate because I know my body and my body, my place. And what I'm saying is, if I were to be freezing to death, that yes, my body would shed its fingers and then it would work to its limbs, its arms, and then it would do the feet and the legs, but it would never shed the penis.
So, okay, you're saying that your body would hold on to the penis before organs that it needs to survive.
You said it yourself. You're the one who said that it holds on to the most important parts of your body.
Okay. What I was really wanting to say was that
continue.
I believe that when you're freezing to death and your body is going through that process, that I'm
just kind of hibernating at that point, really. You're kind of going into a hibernation state.
Yeah, I think you start to become maybe a little like delirious and,
hallucinogenic a little bit.
Yeah, sure. But I feel like that to me, I would rather go out where I'm feeling a little like loopy and I'm not so much feeling, and then I just lose consciousness and then I die. I think I would rather go out like that than I'm just like burning.
Well, it depends on how hot the flames are. If we're being honest, it does depend on temperature.
It doesn't.
A slow burn, that would probably be painful.
Any burn is going to be painful.
Sure, especially third degree. Those are by far the most painful from what I've heard.
I actually think there's also fourth degree burns.
Are you kidding me? There's a fourth degree burn?
I don't know where the degrees stop with burning, but
I guess it's
think
almost
there's
kind of like
a
third dimension. There's a fourth dimension. I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with that, I guess, maybe.
Maybe there's not a 4th degree burn. This is a
Are you thinking of an Indian burn? Because those things are super painful.
Okay. Well,
I'm asking you. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, that's not what I'm thinking.
Have you had those before?
You're talking about where somebody rubs.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't.
It's an Indian burn. They twist it. You do the with the wrist. You twist the skin and you kind of try to rip it in half or whatever.
I don't. For one, right now you've just offended I don't know how many people by the Indian burn thing.
But that's
fine.
No. First of all, I want my listeners to know that I don't mean. I mean no disrespect, and I wasn't even using it in a way of
totally.
But that's what that's what I've called it, and that's what
I understand.
Isn't no long because if it's been changed, if I'm not supposed to be saying Indian burn, then I need someone from somewhere who knows what's going on, maybe from like a Native American tribe or something, to let me know to not be saying it, because I still use Indian burn to this day.
Why are you using this term? Who's doing this to you?
Well, nobody's giving me Indian burns anymore because I'm an adult.
I feel like it's one of those things. It's like we used to say sit Indian style. Now we say sit cross-legged because it's...
Or crisscross applesauce.
Sure. Or crisscross applesauce. But I don't...
Because we cannot say sit Indian style.
But I don't know...
Because it turns out they weren't even the first people to even be sitting like that.
Okay. I don't know how we got here.
Where? We moved here. Are you talking about in the podcast right here, or are you talking about physically in our location right now?
In the podcast.
Okay. Well, we were talking about death. We were talking about I would rather die of probably a 4th degree burn if I had to choose, or an Indian burn. And you would rather die by kind of a slow freezing hibernated.
I never said slow. I actually don't think it's necessarily all that slow. I think.
Well, here's what I know. When things are cold, they move slower. So if you look at the world from the outside, from like a space perspective, you'll notice that the top of the globe and the bottom of the globe, the North and the South Pole, or Antarctica, and what's the top of the one called? What's the top one called? I think it's the North Pole. So Antarctica and the North Pole, though they actually move slower. So they rotate slower than basically the middle of the Earth. But we don't have time for that. That's a different episode. So basically, yes, we are getting married. We're going to be kind of finalizing this relationship into the next realm, the next step. And that basically, it entails just spending a lot of money and getting each other little blings for our fingers, and then just kind of feeling guilty for asking everybody to come up to the wedding,
and also feeling guilty for not asking,
and then also feeling guilty for not asking others, when really you just want to be loved, and you want to, like, I love you, and I want to be love for others as well. And I hope that you're okay with that. I feel like you kind of already knew that I just want to not physically love on other people, but you know that, sure, give them hugs or high fives or, like maybe an embrace or whatever. But you know that my love is your love. That love isn't going anywhere, but you know that I have love to give for others.
Yeah, I've heard you say that kind of thing.
You know that I have a lot of love in my body. And that isn't a penis joke, just to be fair. And I want my listeners to know that that's not where I'm going with it. But we are very excited about the wedding. We're very excited for it to be happening and for it to have been had. And then, our next episode, we'll be a married couple. How weird is that? How wild.
That is wild.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Do you think that you'll be kind of acting the same, or do you think you'll be maybe you start to step into a different
I don't see why
skin as a married woman?
I don't see why I would be acting different.
Well, I hope that you don't, because it's not really what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Excellent.
Why I would do that.
Excellent. So this isn't easy to say, but I do find great joy in saying this.
Okay.
You're basically kind of supposed to be a part of this podcast, and you're supposed to be kind of the person who kind of keeps things in order, so to speak. Maybe you also, you're supposed to be a little bit more of the educated person and more knowledgeable. I guess it's kind of the same thing, but some take it differently. And basically, you're just kind of making stuff up. It turns out that we just hold on just a second, because I don't want to have to mute you, and I can do that, and I won't, but I will if I have to. What's happening is you're just kind of making information up.
I'm not making information up. Okay, first of all,
I'm going to have to mute you in just a second. I have to get this out. You can't come onto the podcast when your basic job is to just kind of be cute, funny, but also very knowledgeable. And you can't come on it and then do the first two, but then kind of really kind of drop the nuts on the third. So, and I will give you time in just a second. I'm almost done. But basically, I'm letting the listeners know that there's been some times throughout, the first few episodes, this is episode 4, first few, where Mischa has been claiming to have known certain information and expressed information to me, also to you listeners, and the information has been absolutely incorrect. So we're going to talk about that, but first I'm going to make my amends first, and I've also made a couple mistakes, and here's what I want to clear up. Okay, last episode I referred to God. We were talking about God. You remember this? Mm-hmm. You can talk now. This is a conversation now.
I don't want to talk about this part. Okay. Now I want to talk about the thing you just
Okay, well, hold on a second, because I'm making my amends. So basically, we were talking about God last episode, and I referred to God as a him. I think I called him a him. Mm-hmm. I called God him. I just want to be clear for you and also for all of our listeners that I do not believe God is a man. I do not feel God is a him.
Okay.
I believe God to be a feminine energy.
Okay.
I'm just wanting to clear that up because I said last episode I called him him.
Okay.
And in fact, him is a her.
That's fine.
So
if that's how you feel, I don't have a preference.
It's not a feeling or not a feeling. I'm just letting you know that I was wrong, and I'm letting you know that God is definitely a feminine energy.
If that's what you believe.
It's a knowing.
Okay.
Great. So that was the first one that I wanted to say. And also, this is the second thing that I wanted to say, and then the floor is yours. Mm-hmm. I spoke on now. I'm going to say it again.
Please.
I spoke last episode about being in LA. It was my 10-year anniversary. It was a big deal. That's a big deal. It's 10 years out in LA. It's a long time to be in LA. It's a very, I would say rewarding with a bit of diarrhea. But it has been nice. But here's what my correction though, is that I called my 10 years in LA, I refer to it as a century. And I learned later that day that turns out a century is actually 100 years, mm-hmm. which is basically 10 times as much time as I've spent down here. Mm-hmm. So it's the amount of time that I've spent down here times 10. Mm-hmm. I have not been in LA 100 years. I want my listeners to know, and I want you to know, and anyone else who may be listening, that maybe they're not even a listener. They just are overhearing this someone else. I don't know if you even call them a listener or not. But basically, I have not been in LA 100 years. I've just only been here 10 years. So go ahead, your corrections.
Okay, so I said when we were talking about dolphins.
This was last episode. We were talking about dolphins.
I said, and I don't even know how it came up because it wasn't something I was planning on talking about.
Well, you were bringing dolphins to the table.
I was talking about dolphins. But then somehow, after you had asked a certain question.
Well, we're having a conversation here.
Right. I said that dolphins could be underwater or hold their breath.
For hours.
You said that hours is very incorrect.
So it's completely false, just so you guys know.
It's completely.
And I want to apologize on your behalf.
No.
Let
me finish.
Okay, fair.
Okay. So, and yes, I should have remembered that because it's actually very interesting that they
can't.
Right, because they have to sleep, sort of.
Well, we all have to sleep.
So the fact that they have to go back up, so they can really only hold their breaths like as long as 15 minutes, which is a long time.
Okay, but now when you say 15 minutes, do you actually mean 15 minutes?
Yes.
Because last episode, you had said hours and you had meant hours.
But to be fair.
So you checked, you fact checked? Is this fact checked? Yes or no?
Yes. But to be fair, I said they could hold their breath for hours, and then you said they can hold their breath for hours or something like that. And I said, I don't know. This isn't one of the facts that I was bringing to the table today. And then you said, you said something like bringing it to the pool instead.
Okay, well, if anybody from listeners from episode 3, if you can remember actually what I had said about that in regard to the dolphin story, about them kind of holding their breath for hours, if you could remember exactly what I was saying, if you want to leave us a comment or send us into the email, we would love to kind of clear this up.
And what is so trippy about the fact that, they do need to go up for air is that, they don't sleep like us, right? They can't sleep for 8 hours.
Yeah. And honestly, mattresses do not do well underwater. They soak up like a sponge, and that is not going to be any good for your back.
Okay. I'm not going to say anything more about dolphins right now, but yeah, my apologies. They can't be under the water for hours.
Turns out just 15 minutes, which really isn't even that long when you think about it. I can think of a ton of things that I can do in 15 minutes. And just thinking about something that I could do in 15 minutes is one of the things that actually counts as well. So, yeah.
And 15 is actually long. I think a lot of them will go up for air between 8 and 10 minutes. I just want to throw that out there in case that you try to come back saying that I've said something else that was false.
No. Well, I only will say it if it is in fact false. But I do want to say that 15 minutes is not that much time, but it actually is kind of a decent amount of time. And I say that because really there's only certain things you can do in 15 minutes, but the things that you can do within 15 minutes, you can do a ton of those things. Brush your teeth, tie your shoes, get dressed, comb your hair, check the mail.
Just imagine holding your breath for 15 minutes.
I can hold my breath for 25 minutes.
You cannot.
I've held my breath for 25 minutes.
You have not.
Yes, I have. 25 minutes. And that's another story. That's a different episode. So, yeah, guys, just want to say thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for, just being forgiving of myself and of Mischa for her faults. She clearly wasn't meaning anything by it. She wasn't trying to be an asshole or be, wrong or stupid or anything. And she's not stupid. So anyone who ever says that, I can tell you right now, you're not going to want to talk to her husband, because I got one smart soon wife.
That's sweet.
Yep. Anyway, so that was it. Here's the one thing that we're going to go into here. So this is kind of a little mental health a little mental health check-in. And want to let you guys know that I have actually continued doing the push-ups. It turns out that if you continue doing them, you just end up doing more. So I've continued to do my daily push-ups, 100 push-ups, and I'm not saying that with an ego or in a way of bragging. I'm just saying it as a matter of fact. I'm putting in 100 pushes toward betterment of my well-being.
I think in England they call them press-ups.
Press-ups?
Mm-hmm.
No, you're thinking of a French press.
No.
It's a coffee.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
They call them press-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why though? Because you're pushing, you're not pressing.
I guess they see it as pressing.
Maybe it's more gentle. Do they do it with just their because some people could do push-ups with their fingers.
I've never seen that.
With just their fingers kind of pointing. Well, anyway, maybe that's interesting. I wonder if it's more, are you sure they're not just typing on the keyboard?
No, it's the same thing.
It's the same exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know that. Is that what you were bringing to the table today?
No.
Because we haven't even started the segment of Mischa learned stuff yet. No. Okay. Well, that's just good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So for all of our, I guess, European listeners,
mm-hmm.
keep up on those press ups and try to get yourself to do some press ups every day and see how that affects you and see how it betters you mentally and kind of in your heart. I think that you'd be surprised. They've definitely been doing quite a number on me. I feel mentally, I feel very good. I feel a little stressed because of the wedding, of course. I think that's normal.
Very stressed.
But my press ups have been really kind of keeping me in a good spot.
Good.
You know, I also did DMT, which also, you know, that always keeps you kind of in a good spot.
Yeah.
You know, kind of gives you a little bit of, I guess, kind of a spiritual awakening to what is.
You do seem to have that experience with it.
I have had the experience, and any of the listeners here today, and all my DMT or fringy heads out there, just know that I see you and I respect you. And gosh, how about that stuff, huh? Something else. Just going into a completely different realm where just all the colors and all the things you could think of just happen to be there. And you find out that, you're just supposed to be here and just supposed to be going about life and just doing it. Really nothing, huh? Are you saying something now? Do you have something to say?
I mean, I literally started opening my mouth to speak, and then you just
Sorry. I was
me.
That's my mistake.
I was going to say that a few interesting things about DMT.
If you will.
I find, for one, with you,
yeah,
the times that you've done it, you've often done it when you feel that you need this, you call it blasting off, that you need to blast off to, basically you're seeking some sort of healing, right?
Kind of killing my ego.
Killing your ego.
When I am having a hard time with the press ups and stuff.
Okay. So I've seen you use it for that purpose, and I've seen it really affect you in a positive way.
Yes, it has affected me in a very, very positive way.
Whereas you'll be finished with it, and then you'll have a very different energy about you. You'll often be crying, but with a smile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that is the best way to cry, though, is when you're smiling.
Yeah.
It's my favorite way to cry.
Yeah, I could see that. But what I wanted to say about my own experience is that I haven't really had the same experience as you have, where I'm done and I'm just like crying with a smile. But the things that I've seen. What
have you seen?
Well, I'll get there.
Okay.
But the things that I've seen.
It's a slow build. I like it.
It's very interesting that I've had the experiences I've had before ever listening to others talk about their experiences, and then to find out that I've had a similar experience or seen something very similar to someone else, and then to hear that is something common when doing DMT is very trippy.
Yeah, that's a super strange thing about it.
So the what do they call them? Machine elves?
Yeah, little entities, machine elves.
Mm-hmm. I've definitely, I very much remember the first time I saw one of those things.
And what was it doing when it saw you?
Well, I said machine elves. What I was going to say was there's like
little gestures.
A jester.
Yeah. Well, they have like this little taunting kind of.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of why I painted these guys.
Right.
Behind us in this painting is because they're little jestery.
See, my gestures weren't quite like that. Mine had a much sharper features, pointier features.
Okay, well, first of all, this is art, so let's be careful in our critique.
I'm not critiquing your art. I'm just telling you this is not what my
Of course,
gestures
they look a little
like.
Different, sure.
But it was very interesting to hear that other people saw jesters, specifically jesters, after I found that out, after I had seen this jester who was sort of taunting me.
In what way was it taunting you? You know what I mean?
Well, and then there's the machine part factored in, because it's sort of like its body sort of kept stacking up on top of it. Like pieces of its body were stacking so it would build, and then unstacking so it would get lower to the ground, and stacking and building. And so it was very machine-like in that way, sort of mechanical. Like these pieces of it were stacking that weren't like human-y flesh, but more of like kind of machine. But it wasn't like it was saying anything to me. It was just the way that it was coming at me And
it's like kind of like an aggressive but playful.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating how it's like that for everybody.
Yeah, and then
I mean, I don't think everybody has the same
right. But the fact that they do
these characteristics of them.
Right. And it almost, I heard someone talking about it like if that opens up, like here, so we didn't know that there were atoms, right? And these tiny cells and everything that's in a nucleus. And we didn't know all of those until we got these mega microscopes. So then
now, is this real information?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Right? I mean, we didn't know, we couldn't see those until we could see them.
That's very true.
So I heard someone talking about DMT, like what if DMT is sort of that lens into this very specific world that you see these very specific entities.
Interesting, yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting.
That's a really great way to look about it.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm done.
Yeah, no, that's it's very fascinating. I mean, they've definitely the last few times I've done it, it's been pretty like crystal clear in the message that they've been sending. And it's been so interesting because I felt like these last few times have been more of like a much more of like a familiar, like I've been going to a place where I'm like, oh yeah, this is like my home. This feels like this is my home that I don't have to pay rent at in this human body. And the last few times I've gone to that other place, it's been a place where I've known every nook and cranny of the room, of the whole place. And the things or entities that have been there have been like, hey, you're back, but hey, you don't have a lot of time, but I guess since you're here, we'll send you just a little quick message and then we'll tuck you in, because then you're not going to really remember this as clear as it is now. And then they kind of tuck me into like what is like a little crib as like a little baby. And then I slowly fade into this human reality. But yeah, it's just fascinating how just they're communicative. Is that a word? Communicative? Communicative.
Yeah, well, you said it right the first time.
Communicative. I think it is. There it is. Fascinating little devils.
Yeah.
Gosh, they feel like my friends. They do. And I remember the first time I got DMT was I knew I was working with this chick who her husband was making it in like some sort of freezer in their apartment, in their fridge and freezer. Like he had like one of those, I don't know what kind of freezers they are, but they're big. Like a lot of people will put the meat, like a bunch of meat to store in them. Like they're big, like, and he was cooking them in there, not cooking it, I don't think, but it's not crack, so you don't really cook it. But anyway, he was kind of developing it, we'll say.
Sure.
And
cooking in the freezer seems like it wouldn't even go.
Sounds like a show.
Like an oxymoron or something.
Oh gosh. Well, it just seems like it would be a little frigid. It could be a little cold in there.
But cooking, cook something like sort of it kind of implies heat.
Yeah.
If you're cooking. So then you're cooking.
Oh,
in the freezer,
you would have a tornado in there because of the temperature differential. So you'll have the hot from the cooking and then the cold from the fridge, and that's how tornadoes are made. So, and that's science for you.
Anyway, go on.
So anyway, he was just kind of making it in the fridge, and I remember I had never even taken psychedelics before ever. Like I think I did mushrooms once, maybe 10 years before, trying to get fucked up to see cartoons or something. But I had no idea what was in this tiny little gum wrapper of DMT that he had given me. And quite powerful, I would say. I definitely stopped eating meat after that trip.
Was that DMT?
That was DMT.
Oh, see, I thought that was your LSD time.
Acid trip. Well, no, it was DMT.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah, because DMT put me into this weird place where I was like connected to all beings and realized that I was everything that was around me. And I know that sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus, but I basically saw myself as I was looking at like this animal, and this deer was like looking back at me, and I realized, oh man, I am the deer. I am the living things around me as well. And then I didn't, obviously didn't want to eat any more of them. Mm-hmm. But powerful stuff, really powerful stuff. I highly recommend every single person try it if you're of age. And, I think with that, we're going to go ahead and take a caller.
Okay, great.
Lance, you need to hurry up and get up here.
This is my grandmother calling and leaving a voicemail.
So we're taking a voicemail.
So this is a caller.
Okay.
That's what callers are. They're voicemails. Sometimes they're recordings. Sometimes they're... Okay. I told you that already. The listeners know what this is.
Okay.
So my grandmother's calling us.
Okay.
Great.
I have a big raccoon and a small raccoon in my front yard, and they're humping. And the big one picks up the little one, throws her forward and jumps on her, and his tail goes up, and he humps her again. And he's done this along the front yard, and now he's going across the street. Now, I don't even know if I can go out and get my mail, but I've never had raccoons here. And he humped away. Trust me. Bye.
Well, shouts out to my grandmother. It doesn't sound like she's having probably the best time right now.
Wow.
It does sound like a bit more of a rape than just kind of a casual hump.
Well, that generally, I don't know if we call it a rape, but that generally is how it seems to be in the animal world.
Well, there's a little roughing around, I think that goes to say with anything.
Continue.
So, yeah. So I guess here's what I'll say about that. For one, always ask permission. Never just go pushing some raccoon around and start humping it. Okay? Or anyone for that matter. Don't do any of that kind of stuff. Always ask permission because you'll get yourself in trouble. And also, I'll even say we're all fucking human beings. Okay? We got to love each other. We got to respect each other.
Are we talking about the raccoons?
Yes, 100%. We're talking about the raccoons.
You just said, but we're all human beings.
Well, I mean all of us as beings. I'm a human, so I identified as a human being. But a raccoon being would I identify as a coon being. So here's what I'm saying is what you need to do is if you're, I don't know if any of our listeners have had this kind of issue. I don't know. We have definitely raccoons kind of wandering up in this neighborhood and these parts. And I don't seem to have the same issue with the rapes. But if any of our listeners have issues with them doing that in their yard, how do you handle that? How do you diffuse the situation? Do you call the cops?
Nobody calls the cops.
Okay, well, do you blow a whistle?
They're worried about the wild animal in their yard, and they have to, have them removed.
Well, if there's a wild animal that's raping and pillaging all sorts of wildlife in my backyard, I'm going to call the police without a doubt. And
I don't know that they're doing pillaging.
Well, I don't know because she honestly kept the message pretty short.
She did. They're reproducing, That's how we keep the raccoon species going.
Yeah.
These are not human beings.
No, we've already established that.
The rules are different in the animal kingdom.
But here's what I do want to say is that if you are going to be a raccoon and be raping other raccoons for the sake of just a rape and not actually for reproduction. No raccoon is having sex for the sake of anything but reproduction. Here is what I'm going to say. If you are a raccoon and you are raping and you're not having sex for reproduction, you better be wearing a condom because
oh my God.
No. It's not oh my God. I guess it is in a way like, oh my God, why did you create these raping raccoons that are now making it difficult for my grandmother to even check her mail at the tail end of a pandemic?
I think your grandmother was worried about checking the mail just because there were raccoons in the front
I think
yard.
she was also worried about maybe having a raccoon probably trying to rape her.
No, she was not. Move on from the rape.
I'm not focusing on the rape. That isn't something that
this podcast. From the word,
here's
from
what
the
I'm
subject.
saying. This podcast is not about that. That is not what this podcast is about. This podcast doesn't talk about rape. It doesn't talk about any of that kind of stuff. Okay, this podcast is light, and that's why I'm saying that. If anyone is having issues with raccoons like this, write us in. Let us know how to handle the situation because I can't guarantee that my grandmother isn't going to have this happen again. they seem like they're kind of busy on the move, and it doesn't seem like they're really kind of going anywhere, really. They might even be here to stay, and I hope that they're not there to stay, but I don't know. It's really a lot to take in.
It's not that much.
Well, I don't want anything to happen to her.
To your grandmother?
That or the raped raccoon, any of them. But more than I don't want anything to happen with my grandmother.
Your grandmother, as far as the raccoons.
It's that time, you guys, and it's our favorite time of the episode for... Mischa Learns Stuff. It's that time. It's that time to make your mind get big and fat and learn how to be bigger and smarter. Are you tired of having a soggy, dried out plum brain? Well, no longer anymore, my little fringies, because we're going to fill you up. We're going to get you nice and plump in your little brain box. So my soon wife will actually be here to give you that info right here and now. So what do you got for us today?
Okay, so I took a workshop recently.
What kind of workshop did you take? Like would you say it was dealing with wood or metal?
No.
Okay. Was it dealing with an acting class?
No. It was a mudra workshop.
So it was about kind of balancing your moods or something like that?
Sure, you could look at it like that, but
is that
you've
where
heard of
mood
mudras?
comes? Is mood come from mudra?
I don't think so.
Okay, good to know.
It's spelled very differently.
Okay.
But you've heard of mudras?
I feel like I've heard of it in yoga.
Yeah, they usually, so often they tell you Anjali mudra, which is like this like prayer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, through yoga, that's a super popular one.
Well, that makes sense because you and I do quite a bit of yoga.
Mm-hmm. So, but I do. Side note: I feel like oftentimes in yoga classes they don't tell you what those mudras, like what the purpose is of them.
I don't even know why I pray at the end.
Why? You mean why your hands are in prayer?
Yeah.
Well, Anjali mudra is a mudra for...
Are you saying Andale mudra?
No. Anjali
mudra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That is it's a mudra. It's like a offering of reverence to the divine. So it's like, deep respect and love to the divine. That's that.
And I do want to say right now, I'm not going to interrupt you because I know this is your time,
mm-hmm.
but massive respect to the divine.
For sure.
I just wanted to say that.
So what I found was really interesting in this workshop, it was taught by a lovely woman named Mari McGlasson, I believe is her last name. And it was online. It was one of the Zoom workshops.
It sounds like a great way to kind of have a workshop, but also be socially distanced and safe.
Totally. And also the school's in like Texas and she was in Arizona at the time. So I obviously wouldn't have been able to attend.
So the woman
if it wasn't
runs
on
a school
Zoom.
in Texas, but lives in Arizona.
No, she's a teacher there. She's a teacher.
She's a teacher in Texas, but lives in Arizona, but also does Zoom meetings for people in California.
All around the world. Yeah.
And that's impressive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To be all over the place like that. And that's thanks to Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
They do that thanks to Zoom, we can do stuff like that. Continue.
So what I found so interesting about the workshop and about mudras is that, well, for one, mudras have been they've been around since like prehistoric times, since before, we see all of those images on the walls of
the dinosaurs and stuff.
No.
When you say prehistoric, but just so you know, that's immediately what I think of, and I guarantee that's what most of the listeners are thinking
I'm not thinking about dinosaurs. I'm just thinking of before the ancient Egyptians, before
like
the
Jesus
ancient Babylonians.
Before Jesus or after him?
Before Jesus. Yes.
Okay. And Jesus was born when?
Approximately 2,000 years ago. In some,
And is that on record?
Is it on record? He doesn't have a birth certificate.
So the answer is no. Okay, so continue.
I believe that Jesus was a man who walked this earth.
In respect to you.
Okay. So.
And respect to Jesus.
Yeah.
If you believe he walked on earth.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah. So this is prehistoric times.
Well, okay. I'm just simply saying mudras have been used for hundreds and hundreds of years, for thousands of years.
Really thousands, because Jesus is, turns out, like 2,000 years
and
ago.
way before that in ancient Egypt, and even before that. So there are images, there are paintings on walls of people with their hands in mudras. Think about all of those statues of Buddha, all of the images of Buddha. His hands are constantly in different mudras.
And he's always smiling so big.
Yeah, he seemed to... I don't know if he's always smiling so big.
Oh, he's always smiling. There's never
different Buddhas.
No. Well, the one that I've always seen, he's always smiling.
Okay. Well, that's a different... I think it's a different Buddha. But, so, on the, painted on the walls in ancient Egypt, they used lots of mudras. So people have been using these.
And they're using them for...
Well, they all mean something different.
Okay.
So there are, who knows how many mudras there are.
And you're going to talk about all of them today?
No.
Okay, because we don't have time for that.
And I don't even know that many.
Okay.
But so they are basically like a control panel of the 5 elements in the body.
Now, by elements,
mm-hmm.
I would like to break this down for our listeners, because not all of them are going to know. A lot of them are probably going to think science. They're going to think periodic table. They're going to think...
Right. Okay, so the 5 elements...
You're going to go ahead and say it now. Okay.
And in Sanskrit, it would be the pancha, I think means 5. Tattva, pancha tattva. So the 5 elements are fire, air, ether, earth, water.
And ether is...
like space. Okay. So it is believed in yoga traditions and Hinduism and Buddhism that we have these 5 elements within us, right? We're all...
I guess if I close my eyes right here now, I can kind of feel them. Yeah, you can feel them. That's kind of crazy. Okay.
So when I say that they're thought of as mudras can be thought of as a control panel
mm-hmm.
for the 5 elements, it's because, so if you look at your hands, it doesn't matter which one.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Each finger is like a different element. So your thumb is the fire element.
Okay.
Or Agni. Your index finger or pointer finger is the air element.
Okay.
Or Vayu. The middle finger, and you can kind of think of this as like, it's like the tallest one, so it's up in space. So it's the ether.
Oh, that's an easy one to remember.
Yeah. And I believe that's called Akasha. And the ring finger is earth. That's Prithvi. And the pinky is Jala, the water element. So what people who practice mudras will do is, like, if they take their thumb and they touch one of these, like the tips of one of these fingers,
they can make like an earthquake or something.
No.
Oh, what is it? So
they are just stimulating that element within their body, right? So maybe they want to be more grounded. So they might, this ring finger is the earth element. So if they stimulate the earth element, maybe that'll...
But why did they mix it with fire?
The fire is stimulating.
Well, it always is. So I think we've already talked enough about fire this episode.
That's true. We have talked a lot about fire today. So there's just these different mudras.
So my question, I guess, that is super fascinating.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, this will stimulate. So like this right here.
It's stimulating in what way? Like inside of my body?
Well, okay. So, let me just finish that sentence really quick. This will stimulate, whereas holding the finger down like this will more so like decrease that element within the body. And yes, so like within your body. So again, it is believed by people who practice these mudras that, like, if maybe you have too much too much airiness in your body, you don't feel grounded, you feel anxious, then maybe you would take this air element right here and you would hold your, wrap your thumb around it like this, holding.
Well, you got to explain it to the listeners because I'm not being able to see it.
So the index finger is like flattened down onto the palm, and the thumb is now holding it in.
It's kind of like you're giving a number 3, but kind of holding it tight.
Right.
But tight to where you kind of are wanting to hurt the finger.
You don't have to hold it tight to where you want to hurt the finger.
I don't
you
mean
have to
actually
hold it tight
hurt.
at all.
I just mean with the intention of hurting.
Yeah, so it's the opposite of...
With force.
Of just...
Gentle.
Connecting the tips of the
fingers. So just connecting is kind of like giving the okay. That is more of, let me reground my body.
That is...
Or,
no.
Excuse me, this is...
This could be stimulating to that air element. But this is actually also... This particular mudra is the... what is it called? It's the Gyan or Guyana.
This is the okay one. It's called the Gyan.
It's the mudra or the gesture of knowledge, actually.
Well, this is a great one for you to be kind of mudraing through the episode, and probably each episode from here on out, just so you're always on top of your game and stuff.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I guess my question is...
I was just going to tell you a couple of mudras that you could take with you.
Well, I guess I have a question.
Okay.
Since this is kind of a... it's kind of a conversation between us. Mm-hmm. Kind of goes back and forth. My question is, so I'm fortunate to have all of my fingers. Mm-hmm. What happens because my grandpa Raj, mm-hmm. he didn't have his pinky. Mm-hmm. He lost his pinky. He worked on the railroad.
Both pinkies?
Just one pinky.
Okay.
But he
Maybe
didn't have
the other pinky.
He didn't have one. So my question is, does that make him kind of handicapped into the divine world of spiritualism?
No, I surely wouldn't think so.
Okay, well, do you think that it has anything to do with so if someone doesn't have a finger because maybe they were struck by lightning. I know a guy who lost his finger who was struck by lightning. He can't do certain mudras.
Well, maybe. And again, I took one workshop here, and but I would assume that, even if there's no finger here, but there's still this space here, I would think that space would work.
Even though the connection is very small, it would still be enough to kind of...
That's my best guess.
Okay, well, so now... Okay, no, that's fine. I just was under the impression that all this stuff was actually very kind of fact-based, but you're just kind of guessing?
Well, for one, I can't even say that this is all fact-based, because some people will say, oh, mudras, that's a load of horse shit.
And for any of our people, any of the and here's what I want to say to any of the listeners out there who think that. I want to let you know that, there's nothing wrong with just believing in it. And I want to thank you for listening. First off, I'd like to thank you for listening.
Am I done with the mudras?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Right now I'm talking to people who maybe are thinking that this is a bunch of load of shit, because I want those people to know that it could be, but it could not be as well. And what's most important is that we're making all of our listeners feel comfortable. So whether they do or don't, those do's and don'ts are feeling together and they're feeling good. So let's just support each other here. That's what Heavy Bangs is about. Continue.
Well, I was just going to say one more thing and then show you a couple mudras.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah.
Okay. So you'll often see that there's all kinds of statues and images of Buddha in different mudras.
Sitting down, usually.
As well as images of ancient Egyptian gods in certain mudras, right?
But and you're speaking of Jesus now?
Jesus?
Ancient Egyptian gods, you're speaking of Jesus?
Jesus is not an ancient Egyptian god.
Okay. Was Jesus included in this as
Horus, Iris, or Isis, sorry.
Isis.
Not Iris.
Yes.
Cousin name Isis.
And
these are ancient Egyptian gods, not Jesus.
And the other one is that I'm thinking is...
I don't know.
Who's with the dog head? Who's the one with the dog head?
I can't think.
But do you know what I'm talking about, that one?
Did I already? Yes, I do know what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, so any of our listeners who are listening, if you know which Egyptian god I'm actually trying to think about who has the dog head, I think it's more of a man's body, but kind of a dog head.
We can just look it up. You can just hand me the phone.
Well, we don't have time right now.
Okay.
But if you guys want to write in to let us know, that would be great. Thank you so much for your subscription and for following. Continue.
Okay, so like one of the things that you'll see Buddha doing is like this. Do you ever see this one?
Kind of hand out, like he's saying hello as a high five.
But this is the, if I might not pronounce it right, but Abhaya Mudra, and it's like
Abhaya,
Abhaya, Abhaya,
Abhaya,
Abhaya,
Abhaya.
Okay.
No, well, I'm not. I'm trying to say it.
I know, and let's get past. Let's move on. I think.
Okay. Abhaya.
So. Because I don't even know that's the right pronunciation.
Okay.
So this is like sort of a gesture of peace, right? Because like imagine, you're walking into, maybe you're walking into a camp and they don't know, like you would sort of naturally do this anyway,
you
right?
raise your hands
Yeah,
up.
like I don't have any weapons. I
don't
come
be
in peace,
scared. I'm a good guy.
Right? Yeah, so this is like the gesture of fearlessness and peace. So that's pretty cool so now like when I see a statue of Buddha with this, it's like this is peace.
Interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that?
Gosh. So whenever we're greeting people, we should be, instead of wave like, hey guys, I'm here, just come with just that hand out.
Yeah, you could do that.
But I think that says something. That says so much more than someone who's like, oh, I'm here. I'm fucking here. You're coming in peace. You're letting them know I'm here. Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's really cool.
We're running out of time, but we
have plenty of time.
So, I'll just show you a couple mudras.
Yeah, we have plenty of time.
So there's this Agni flame mudra, right? So this is the fire.
Okay.
So, and it's easy to remember that the thumb is the fire because if you hold your hand like this is like, not only is this how you might light a lighter, but also if you place your palm, the side of your palm, it's in a fist like this, thumb is up, and then you place it on top of your other palm. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like this is a little candle burning.
It does, and it is warm.
Yeah.
It's warm.
So, so this would be a very fire stimulating mudra.
Okay. So this would probably be something you'd want to do before you're going to go to a rodeo or something.
I don't see how that.
If you're going to be one of the bull riders or one of the guys, one of the people in the rodeo, you probably want to do this to kind of get your kind of an energy up and your adrenaline going.
I mean, I don't even know how to answer that because I don't even feel supportive of rodeos.
Okay, well, this isn't a question of ethics. This is a question of if I was a guy who was in the rodeo, would this be good for me to do? Because we may have some listeners who work in the.
What are you after by doing that? I would say if I was about to go get on a bull and it was going to. I'm not sure what I would be seeking, and I don't know how the fire element.
Does the fire element, that we're doing this mudra, does this kind of invigorate a bit of a fight inside of us? Maybe a bit of a fire.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't invigorate a fight. I don't know, but yes, invigorate the fire. But these are. I don't know the answer to that question. I can't.
And that's fine, and we can correct it in the corrections episode next episode.
No, this has nothing to do with what I'm saying that's incorrect. I just do not know how to relate mudras to bull riders at the rodeo.
Okay, well, there's nothing I can do about that to kind of explain it better because I've tried to make it pretty clear. But okay, so if I was someone who was wanting to go chase a car, would I do the fire element?
Why?
To get enough steam to chase the car.
Yes. Okay. If you are seeking to be stimulated and to be energized,
yes,
then yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Great. That's all I was wanting to know. Thank you. Continue.
Okay. You've probably occasionally seen in yoga class the lotus mudra. This is Padma.
The lotus is very big in yoga. I noticed that.
This is Padma. So not only...
Say it again. So sorry, I spoke over you.
Padma.
Padma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And if you notice what's happening here, your thumbs are together and your pinkies are together. So this actually helps bring into balance both the fire and the water elements.
Oh, wow. So then you're really kind of probably in the middle of the road because you're not too hot and you're not probably too wet. You kind of.
Yeah.
In the middle. Center.
Yeah. This is a whole other subject, but there's like these constitutions of Vata and Pitta and Kapha, and that's a whole other.
Oh yes, you've been telling me a little bit about this.
But there is one of those constitutions that is believed to be like governed by two of the elements, which are water and fire. And if that were the case, then maybe this one would be a good one for that, because this is both of the elements that particular constitution is made up of. But that probably was very confusing.
Well, great. So for all of our listeners who don't know what the fuck is going on, you can go ahead and thank our beautiful co-host and my soon wife, Mischa McCortney. She is a stone cold babe.
Okay, so this one they often will put in front of the heart, because it's also that like heart opening mudra that is a mudra for love and compassion. So this one would be great for you, because you're all about spreading the love.
Well, it is funny because I have been doing this my whole life and not even knowing it, what I was doing.
And I'll wrap this up with just one more mudra.
Okay.
Or two, I don't know, but maybe just one.
Okay.
So also I feel like in yoga class prior, I've been told to put my hands in Kali mudra. Have you ever been told that, where it's like this?
Yeah, it looks like a bit of like you're kind of shooting somebody with a gun.
Yeah, like a little like Charlie's Angels or something.
Little Charlie's Angels, yeah.
So I've definitely...
They were into yoga.
Maybe. I mean, everybody's
that's
into
how
yoga,
they were
right?
so fit. That's how they were so fit. Continue. Okay, this is called what again?
Kali.
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 Got it.
And I remember in the past yoga teachers telling me, inviting people to put their hands into this mudra and calling it Kali mudra, but never telling me what it meant. So I find so interesting to know like what they're supposed to mean, what they're supposed to do. So this is like, you're basically sending out, you could like use this to remove, like negativity or something that you no longer want.
So you're like, it out.
You're basically shooting it out through the air elements. So it's like shooting it out.
Fingers.
Anyway,
wow.
A lot of
that I never knew.
Cool
that I never knew, and
mudras.
that is pretty cool to know that you were basically equipped with guns. And again, I'd like to see them take these guns away.
Again, what's very fascinating about all of this mudra stuff is that humans in different spiritual walks of life have been doing them for hundreds of years and thousands of years. And I just, I find that to be pretty cool, pretty interesting.
And I love that. And I find it to be very cool and interesting as well.
Well, thank you.
And I think that our viewers and our listeners do as well.
Well, maybe some will like it and some don't.
Motivational speech of the day.
Gosh, you guys feeling as heavy as a rock? Feeling like you're just sinking into the bottom of the ocean? Did your dad's brother's dog just die? Are you having a heavy go right now? Then I need you to listen. I need you to listen more than ever, to listen to right now in this moment. Because this is the moment. It's the motivational speech of the day. And Mischa, what is our word today for the speech?
Suspenders.
Suspenders. Suspenders. Aren't they hard to find sometimes? You can check online. You can go in the stores, but they're so hard to find sometimes. And that's that's how I feel about myself sometimes. I feel like it's really hard to find me. Where am I? What am I doing? Who am I talking to? Why am I spending so much money in the store? It's stuff like that. And you can lose sight of yourself, and that's why it's important to always carry a belt and have it with you, and actually have it kind of fastened to your pants and your belt loops in your pants and holding them on there up there. Because otherwise your pants are just going to fall down. And then next thing you know, your penis or your cute's going to be out for everyone to see. And maybe there's some people behind you are going to see your asshole and stuff. And a lot of us don't even really like to show people that. We like to kind of keep it to ourselves and stuff. But in that scenario, without having that belt, you could find yourself in a very vulnerable place. And that's why I just want you guys to make sure and eat 3 meals a day at least. We all need to be having ourselves balanced, well-rounded meals, because otherwise you don't know what could happen. You don't know if a hemorrhoid's around the corner. You don't know if you're just dehydrated. You don't know if the neighbor is sick next door. So what you want to do is make sure and eat healthy and put that belt on, because life gets hard. It gets rocky. We lose sight of ourselves. Sometimes we don't even know where our pants are, what's even inside there anymore. So maybe we start taking hormone pills or whatever. I don't even know, but that's a different episode. But what I am saying is that we have to pull them up. We got to keep them sitting where they need to be sitting. We can't have them falling down, okay? We got to keep the energy tucked up and in. Put those suspenders on. I know they're hard to find, but you can put them on and you can connect them to your pants, and actually they go over your shoulders. And what they do is hold your pants up, so you never lose sight of yourself. And you always know what's inside of your pants because you can just go ahead and look right inside of there and see it for your own self. And that's why it's just important to love yourself. Call your grandmother. And, if you're feeling like you need a fruity like soda, treat yourself. Today's the day, goddammit. Today's the day. Today's your day. And if you want carbonated cherry cola without the cola and just kind of the cherry carbonated part, that's fine. You know where it is. And I do too. It's right inside there. It's behind the suspenders. It's inside the pants. It's below the skin. It's just around the outside of the organs. It's everywhere inside. And you guys, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of Heavy Bangs. I think we really got into some stuff. And, we're going to just keep getting into some stuff. Just turns out that's what you do on these podcasts. And just, we're figuring this out. And I'll be damned if we're not going to keep swinging each week. So, gosh, here's to swinging. Here's to making a connection. And here's to making sure that that loophole fits.